Hello everybody, my name is Sebastian, and today I will be bringing you a video that will basically explain to you why hybrid technology is not needed in Formula 1 anymore. Today we'll be doing the no battery challenge, and I just want to show you guys that this is, futile technology and that Formula 1 should bring back the V12. So in protest, I will not be using my battery today, and we will keep going until we win a race. So that is the premise of today's video. Let's get stuck in to the online realm of things, and straight away we are turning off that battery because we do not want that absolute wizardry having any impact on our results today. So all jokes aside, let's have a go at this challenge and just see if we can win an online race. My understanding is that I want to say it's at least a lap slower, and that is, without any kind of excusing everything that you'll see in today's video aside. This is just what my assumption would be heading into today's video. So we'll hopefully see what the damage is and see if we're actually competitive in an online race. So away we go for the first race here in the Chinese Grand Prix, and you can see already we are well and truly under pressure as we head into turn one. The race starts is always going to be the part of the race where we're going to be most under threat because everyone else is going to be having fully charged up batteries. You can see we actually get spun out there by I'm not too sure who, to be honest. I don't have replays. I don't have any other things to go by. It could have been the Racing Point, but I have a feeling that it wasn't him. I feel like he just got caught up innocently in that battle. But yeah, the start. Oh my goodness, losing the back end off the start. This has not been a good start to proceedings. For some reason at China, whenever you spin out or whatever, it's impossible to recover some good tyre temps, at least on the first lap anyway. But yeah, in real life, not having ERS or battery deployment, I think it costs you 2, 3, maybe even 4 seconds a lap. It's quite ridiculous. It's not quite that drastic in the F1 game. As you can see, we go for a nice little move there up the inside into turn 4. But yeah, it was a very hard race to recover from. I think in the end we got P8, which was a pretty good recovery considering we had no battery and we were last at one point. But yeah, in the game, I want to say on average it's about a second to maybe a second and a half a lap slower to not have battery in your back pocket, so that'll make life quite interesting for us. We now move on to the Canadian Grand Prix. You can see we're at a second and a half off pole there, which is, yeah, pretty close to the mark. I think maybe at the end of this video I'll do a comparison and see exactly what ERS costs you per lap. But for the moment, we're just going to do our best with what we've got at the moment with no battery. Heading into turn 1, it's a very short run here into turn 1 of Canada, so I was very thankful for that. We weren't exactly under pressure a great deal, so we're able to hold on to our qualifying position pretty much as we negotiate the first couple of corners. And Mercedes loses the back end there, promotes us up into P4, but now we head on to the back straight where, yeah, we're just going to have absolutely no punch in a straight line. We're going to use rich revs in an effort to just keep the top speed up, but the acceleration just isn't going to be there. I did some brief testing at the start of this game, maybe even the last game, I'm not too sure which one it was, around Austria. I did 2 comparison laps, one where I was just using rich fuel mixture and the other where I was using complete hot lap and lean revs. And from my minor testing, I found that using the battery or the ERS is more effective at lower speed, so it gives you that real punch, that real drive out of an acceleration zone, whereas higher fuel mixes will give you that top end speed, or it's more beneficial at higher end speeds. And so that's my little experiment. Feel free to prove me wrong in the comments. But in that Canadian Grand Prix race, we managed to get P3. Our consistency was pretty good there. We weren't really attacked all too much, and we were able to just get on with the job and come away with a pretty good result, but we were still miles off the pace relative to where we might have been if we had battery. We do a 10.6, which is not too bad compared to some of the other people in the lobby, which I will certainly take, but we're now going to move on to the Russian Grand Prix. This is now a completely different lobby where qualifying was not enabled, and unfortunately we've been put at the back here. So away we go for the Russian Grand Prix. Let's see if we can come through the field this time with no battery. This will be very, very difficult. We don't know what the skill level of some of these drivers is, but we'll do our best nonetheless to win this Grand Prix with no battery. You get absolutely clattered on the run into turn 2, but we find a couple of positions. There's polystyrene absolutely flying everywhere. We pick up 4, maybe even 5 spots here as everyone is just pinballing off of each other, and we're now into P9. So not a bad start considering we were, originally P17. We've negotiated all the plebs as the Williams smashes into the back of us. Really appreciate that. And life from here will be a whole lot more difficult. We're going to see if we can get past our teammates. Oh my goodness, the Haas does his best Romain Grosjean impersonation. And we are now into 8th place. Yeah, so next up is our teammate. We'll see if we can dispatch of him fairly quickly. But now we're actually in a battle with people. We're going to see just how effective or how not having battery is going to give us a lack of effectiveness in battling and overtaking. Like I said earlier in the video, when you don't have battery, it makes you very, very vulnerable on the first lap. But when it comes to overtaking, the battery is such a handy tool because you need straight line speed essentially to do overtakes. If you don't have straight line speed, and this is a trait when you run too much downforce possibly, it makes life so much more difficult in a race scenario because you basically have to overtake people in corners or into braking zones, and that is a whole lot harder than just overtaking someone by virtue of getting a better exit or just having better straight line speed. And you can see by my teammate here, he's fairly capable, and so it makes life very, very difficult for me here. I'm having to do it in the technical 3rd sector of the lap. But this time, we're going to have some DRS to play with, and this might negate the fact that we don't have any battery to play with. You can see we're actually staying with him as we head into the braking zone. It's a big boy lunge into turn 2, but it doesn't quite work out for us. We overshoot the mark and we let our teammate go out of just common courtesy there, and it's back to the drawing board once again. So yeah, it seems we have the pace in the corners, much like Fernando Alonso would say in his McLaren Honda days. We're P1 in the corners but absolutely nowhere on the straights, and that was the problem for McLaren Honda, I think, back in the day. Is their engine was all right. It was they didn't have as much deployment as other teams, and this is what really held them back. So I really feel for Fernando and McLaren Honda and Stoffel Van Dorn back in the day, because this is exactly what it was like. Just the no straight line speed. Anyway, we're still stuck behind our teammate here. We're 4 laps into this Russian Grand Prix. We can't overtake in the corners because there's a 800 kilo Formula 1 car in the way, and there's nothing we can do. We have a good run onto the straights, but we just don't have the straight line speed to do anything more to get past. So it's actually quite frustrating, to be honest, because I know I've got the speed. I just can't. I'm stuck, essentially. This time around we get a nice exit onto the back straight. Rich fuel mixture, making sure that I don't overheat my engine, because that's a thing that can happen as well. As we go for a dive into the 3rd sector, we have to squeeze our teammate a little bit. He thankfully gives us a little bit of room on the exit, and now it's going to be side by side as we run into the 3rd sector. I actually lost the back end there, which has not helped my exit, but finally our teammate gets a nice run through a corner while we're side by side. You might have noticed that I was actually pushing him through the 3rd sector on the last lap. This time around, now that we're giving him the big hurry up, he's not having such issues. But now we're on the last lap of the Russian Grand Prix, and we're trying desperately hard to get in front of our teammate. We're just stuck. We've not made any progress since like lap 1 when we were stuck behind this guy. We go to the outside into turn 2. Again, it can't quite work. Teammate cuts the corner, and he lives to fight another day. But this time, we are going to make doubly sure that we can get in front of our teammate. As the race goes on, all of our competitors will have less and less and less battery to play with, so that comes into our favor a little bit. So I'm hoping that on this last lap, we can get this move done. We've now got Oslo Bars, or Oslo Boars, going around the outside here. We're going to go for the big lunge into Sector 3, and we are now past our teammate finally. We've got the racing point as well, who has had some issues and is looking slow. That slows up my approach into the final couple of corners, and Oslo Bars finishes me off by, I don't know what he was doing there. He went for a gap, and yeah, the gap closed, and we got spun around there. I think the rear tyres are absolutely on fire, as you can see, and that is curtains to our Russian Grand Prix attempt. This is what happens when you don't have battery, when you give up a second or a second and a half worth of lap time. It just leaves you vulnerable to other people around you, and yeah, that is the result. 25 seconds away from the race victory. It might have been close, to be honest, in terms of winning that race if I had battery, but we don't have such luxuries today. Moving on now to Germany, and it is lights out and away we sluggishly go. We're already getting overtaken by a Williams alongside as we head into turn 1. The Renault parking it on the apex, and we lose a position to Nesmio once again. So let's hopefully have a better time of things here in this German Grand Prix. This is, I'd say, a little bit more of a power circuit than what Russia is. Thank goodness for the ghosting system. We were able to survive that. But, yeah, we're in P5. We've got much better track position than what we had in Russia now. So that's at least one thing we have up our sleeve in the slipstream of the Haas. Let's see if we can get this guy into the hairpin. Absolutely revving out 7th gear to not lose out any top end speed. As also, I was using the slipstream to help as well. We've got someone also on my right hand side into the hairpin going up my inside, and then I was full lock at the hairpin and I squeezed out Vinny, unfortunately. So he lost a couple of places there. I'm really sorry about the driving today. I mean, I'm not completely innocent in all of these crashes, don't get me wrong. I definitely could have left some space for Oslo Bars, who took me out in the last race. So yeah, that was a little bit on me. So yeah, it's just what happens when you're a bit slow. You're just at the mercy of everyone else around you, and so it's just a different environment to be in, isn't it? Like, I kind of get this when I'm racing in karting in real life. I'm pretty slow when it comes to that, but normally in these kind of lobbies, I'm always on the attack, so I don't have to worry about being attacked all too much. But it's a really cool, in a weird way, element to go racing. You can see this Ferrari is kind of all over the place in this race. He was trying to get in front by any means necessary. I'm racing away with Vinny, and at this point, I wouldn't blame him if he was out of patience with me at this point. We squeeze him out there, and we hold on to P5 now. But this Sir Badger guy, we got to keep and treat this guy with a bit of respect, because he can kind of swerve around all over the place. He's a bit wayward into braking zones. We go the inside into turn 2. He just turns in like we're not even there, which is interesting. But anyway, we move forward into P4 now. We don't have the DRS on this back straight, so that's going to leave us very, very vulnerable to Sir Badger, who actually squeezed out Vinny in the Haas. I feel so sorry for Vinny. F's for Vinny in the chat. F's for me as I get turned in on again into the hairpin. It's P4 still, but only just. Sir Badger, he's got tunnel vision. He's I don't know, has he got a VR headset on, or he's just completely not looking in his sides or his mirrors? This is a time trial session for him as far as he's concerned, going for a lap record every single apex. Lap record of late braking, that is. But anyway, it's P4 still. Sir Badger explores the gravel trap, and he will be taking no further part in today's video, I would hope, as the Renault spins out. And it's P4. So we finally had like a lap there to not get attacked, and we were able to get in a rhythm, and you can see we set our fastest lap of the Grand Prix at 15.3. I reckon we could have easily gotten the 14s, but we didn't really have much time to have a go at that. But it is absolutely hectic when you don't have battery. You're at the mercy of people behind you all the time on the straights. They can dive bomb you. It basically just leaves you open to be attacked, and that slows you up even more in the corners because you can't run your natural line. You have to leave space here and there. It's just it's a nightmare, isn't it? It's just a compounding problem. But now we move on to the Brazilian Grand Prix, where this is slightly less. This is probably the least power track that we have so far that we've raced today, and we'll see if we can make a good result out of this one. The backs or the start-finish straight will be pretty bad. Hopefully, we'll do enough in the middle sector to pull away from those behind. We get promoted up into P3 after some turn 1 kerfuffling, but we now follow the 2 Red Bulls through into turn 4, and this iCargo guy gets a nice exit. Oh, he's pinballed, he's skittled his teammate, and now we lead the Brazilian Grand Prix in this open lobby. Here's the replay. Gian gets a bad run. His teammate does the under and over, and then he just doesn't turn for turn 5 and skittles his teammate. We're in the lead, and we have absolute control over this race. For how long, though, is the question. We're going to do our absolute best to hold on to this lead. We've got CPS Alex 69 chasing us down behind us, so we'll have to make doubly sure that he doesn't get in our slipstream, doesn't get DRS. We're going to do the absolute best job we can now on lap 2 here to make a gap, because we're going to need it, because on lap 3 DRS gets enabled, and there is I think there's 2 DRS zones around this circuit, but they're in pretty close proximity. This start-finish straight here is so long, it's going to leave me very vulnerable to anyone behind me. We're doing 11-1, which is decent, I think, considering the circumstances. Alex has closed in to 1.2 seconds behind, so he's nearly in that slipstream range as we head on to lap 3, and he's a second away, so he'll get DRS on the next lap, but he actually makes a mistake at the absolute worst time, and it looks like we might potentially get away with a lead here in this Brazilian Grand Prix. So a bit of breathing space at this stage. Literally everyone else behind me is faster. I'm just using my consistency to keep me in the game here, and it's paying dividends at this stage. Just pumping in those constant 11 zeros. It's just enough to keep the lead, even though they are catching. Nesmio, our rival from Russia, is closing me in. But it's the last lap of the Grand Prix. The nearest car is still 3-4 seconds behind me, so I think we will get away with a victory in this Brazilian Grand Prix. It has been very, very lucky, I will admit, but I'm going to take this with both hands, and we are going to win a race in the turbo hybrid era with absolutely zero involvement of the battery. Doing my best Daniel Ricciardo Monaco victory from 2018. We have done it! No battery challenge. Job done. This still makes me laugh. The Pierre Gasly team radio. It kind of reminds me of like Patrick Star from SpongeBob SquarePants, so he's just like screaming into a telephone or something. That's all I can picture when I hear that. But anyway, that has been the No Battery Challenge. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. If you did, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new to see plenty more racing game content. If there's any other challenges you want to see me do on F1 2019 that I haven't thought of yet, feel free to let me know down in the comments. And as promised, the comparison between an ERS hot lap and a non-ERS hot lap will play in about 5 seconds. Thank you so much for watching, and until the next video, I'll see you next time.
Okay, mate. I still can't believe you did that, to be honest. You were right with your guess, by the way, but I'm not going to tell everyone that.
Yeah, I thought that was the case. Alright, yeah.
There's no point
trying to get
them.
us again. No.
Holy shit, mate.
2 years in the making this.